We're live. So we'll see if this works for us. Got to go over here and pick up Mr. Venucio. He'll be coming on. I've got to go live. Okay, we're looking good. We're looking good in the neighborhood. Let's see if we can. Okay. Going to. That's it. Okay. So we'll we'll start that. See what happens. Okay. Good afternoon, Frank. Charles Butler here.
Charles, it's great to be with you.
Well, are you getting your feedback?
Nothing at all. Nice and clear.
Good. Okay. We're going to go live right now. Boom. Hello, hello. It's Charles Butler, the reality check, broadcasting live on Red State Talk Radio, as well as TalkStreamLive.com. Yeah, it's a crime. I always have to pay a little homage to Gil Scott Heron, the original political rapper. Hey, boom, boom. Hey, a lot of things going on today. We have Mr. Frank Venucio with us, editor-in-chief of the New York Analysis of Policy and Government with us today. Frank, welcome to the show. How are you?
Charles, it's good to be with you again.
Hey, over the years, we've talked about a lot of different things, and it seems that this Mueller investigation, the Congress, the DNC, they are so messed up. I mean, the DNC is through. They don't get it. We, the American people, aren't interested in socialism. We're not interested in changing the country. We're not interested in bringing a bunch of poor and ignorant people into the country. Donald Trump called it correctly. I called it correctly. And people don't want to hear the truth. So, Frank, before we go any further, I want to get your opinion of Senator John McCain, your final words at his, well, it won't be final, but tell us a little bit about how you feel about Senator McCain.
Well, again, anything you say about Senator McCain, including his political views, has to be prefaced with the fact that he did sacrifice enormously for this country. His time in the Hanoi Hilton was a sharp contrast, I think, to what a lot of Americans were doing at the time. You look at Jane Fonda, who, by the way, should have been tried and convicted of treason. She sat on anti-aircraft guns and posed with the North Vietnamese army, while John McCain and vast numbers of other Americans were held in torturous conditions in prisoner of war camps. John McCain, upon returning to the United States, of course, eventually being elected to the U.S. Senate, developed a reputation as being a maverick. To some extent, he did bring fresh air into the Senate. On the other hand, you have to get the impression at times that Senator McCain didn't have a center of gravity in some of his political views. He did appear at times to be contrary for the sake of being contrary, even when it didn't make a lot of sense. But nevertheless, again, I think you have to go back to the
Frank,
sacrifices he made as a young fellow in the Air Force, in the
Frank, I think you just gave the perfect definition of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you look at a lot of his positions, and some of them just didn't make any sense, and that involved his personal relationships, professional relationships as well. Uh, extraordinary vice president, quite the course of the campaign, to some extent became more popular than he did. He eventually turned against her, and that didn't make a lot of sense. His relationship with President Trump, look, you understand that President Trump said some pretty rough things, and that does happen in politics. His discord with the president of his own party, seemed to be more based on personal pique than on any real position on policy or anything else.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, but there are those of the that are out there that somehow feel that it's okay to pick on Donald Trump. It's okay to pick on other people, and that people aren't going to fight back. I personally like the fact that Donald Trump fights back. I don't know about anyone else, but I feel the same way, and I've come out the same way. In fact, that's the only way that I think I survived here in Chicago as a conservative talk show host, is that people know that Charles Butler is going to fight back. You're not going to sit and pick on him and call him names, and he's going to do like Michael Steele and turn the other cheek and be above it all. No, I'm not cheeky. I'm not. As I said to a friend of mine earlier today, there's a guy who stole some business from me that resulted in me losing literally millions of dollars worth of business, and I intend to punch him in the face when I see him. And I mean that. So, hey, it's just the way it is. Anyway, go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
But in the current American political climate,
Mm.
it's getting worse, not better. If you even put in the White House as a search term in Google, there are times when the first couple of results that come up are actually results blasting Donald Trump rather than the objective government site of the White House. That's how bad it's getting.
Well,
And, as we go further and further, we see some of John McCain's primary media was based on something he said against fellow Republicans. But isn't it fascinating, Charles, that John McCain was the media darling until he actually ran for president
mhm.
and had a Democrat opponent, and at that point, he became the bad guy.
Well, yeah, not only did he become the bad guy, this is a guy who stepped up and saved Barack Obama's bacon at his own expense. Because at the end of the day, they could have exploited things like Mr. Obama saying he never denied he was a Muslim. He only said, when asked the religious question, I converted to Christianity. And the logical response to that is, well, what did you convert from? But no one ever asked him that. If you ask me, Charles Butler, a Methodist or an Episcopalian, I was raised in the AME church and was switched to the Episcopalian church because their services were shorter and without all the emotion. the the answer would be, well, I was a Methodist, but I became an Episcopalian because blah blah blah. Barack Obama said, I converted. So what did you convert from, sir? I would say I was baptized in the. Go ahead.
It's something that you and I know from being in this profession. There are certain questions, there are certain things that simply don't get asked. And Maybe it's
No,
intelligent.
no, Frank, that's not what she said. What she said was, let's see. I'm going to tell you exactly what Miss Brzezinski said. She said that they were sitting around talking, and and she said that this. That's what she said, Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said.
Yeah, it becomes more and more startling by the day. Going forward, when you combine that with the lack of education our students are getting in colleges at outrageous tuition rates, that I might add, um, you're looking at a real problem for the future of the country, particularly when it comes to Google. Now, we saw this week that there was a bit of an altercation. The president was talking about the bias searches on Google. The president happens to be 100% right. Google is presenting not objective search results, but it's presenting a partisan view of politics in the country. You look at the headlines on the network news channels, you look at the headlines in most of the major papers and most of the major websites as well. The past couple of days have seen an enormous victory for the White House with the new agreement with Mexico. It's a major improvement for the United States trade picture. It's a major plus for union workers and for workers in general. You barely see significant wars for Fox News or Google.
Mhm.
This is a major change in the economic climate of the United States. Given at most short shrift.
Yeah, but or no shift at all. The shift at all. The reality is they don't want to see. You have to remember, a lot of people on the left did not want to see NAFTA undone because it was a Democrat piece of legislation pushed through by Bill Clinton when he had the majorities. And let me repeat, and NAFTA gave them a constituency that they thought that they could keep and continue. When things are going well, people are making money. There's progress in the country. What happens, Frank? We elect Republicans. The 50s, the late 80s, the late 60s, I'm sorry, when we had Nixon come in. We were a bread and butter economy. We were at war. People were making money. There was plenty of money flowing. We may have been at war and people were going to Vietnam, but I mean, there were new cars on the street. There were houses being built. Times were pretty good at home. So, Nixon comes in promising to get us out of Vietnam and law and order. And here we go. We go down that slippery slope with Nixon. And I think the worst thing that Nixon could have done was to open up China, because he thought, and I think that his thinking at the time, I never agreed with it, to tell you the truth, but I saw the logic in it. I just didn't see where making China a superpower would somehow impact the strength of the Soviet Union or Russia today. Because who could have forecast the Soviet Union coming apart in 1968 or 1972 when Nixon went over to China? So it's all interesting. It's very interesting. But, Frank, I think when you and I spoke last week, Omarosa was still in the news. She's not in the. She hasn't been in the news since last Wednesday, Frank. No one has done an Omarosa story on the channels I've listened to since last Wednesday.
No, not lately. The news story, of course, was the Lanny Davis story, and you got to wonder, how did a lawyer to a Republican client. So now you have a pretty crooked lawyer, Michael Cohen, being represented by another crooked lawyer, Lanny Davis. And in both cases, Michael Cohen and Lanny Davis, neither were looking out for the interest of their own clients. It's a pretty sad story when it comes to American jurisprudence. Um, what Lanny Davis wanted Michael Cohen to do basically was to plead guilty in order to keep the story against Trump in the news. That's what that was all about.
Wow. Well, if it is, maybe Mike Cohen has a malpractice suit he can file against against his attorney, because I tell you, it is kind of bizarre. It is really a bizarre set of events.
Actually, I can tell you that Michael Cohen would certainly have a very, very valid disciplinary action against Lanny Davis if he went to a bar association. Just as Donald Trump would actually have a fairly good case against Michael Cohen. It's a kind of odd situation.
Okay.
But clearly what you're seeing here is the warping of the mechanism of justice for
Okay.
partisan political purposes.
All right.
And it's really serious issue.
Well, got to take this commercial. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're back with Mr. Frank Venuzio. Frank, you were making a point before we went to break about a good case for malpractice by Mike Cohen and Donald Trump.
Indeed, that is the case, and I think by Michael Cohen against his own attorney, Lanny Davis. We've seen in the past couple of months, past couple of years, how billionaires like George Soros and Bob Steyer out in California have financed, it seems somewhat strange, non-sexy races, like races for local district attorneys or state attorney generals, races that don't generally attract a lot of attention and a lot of really high-profile donors. But now you're starting to see what the ultimate outcome on that is and what the ultimate goals are. Clearly, the jurisprudence system, the legal system of the United States is being turned just as the media is for partisan political purposes. And just as we've seen the concept of independent reporting kind of go out the window and be replaced by hard left analysis, this is what we're seeing in the legal system as well. Remember, you don't have to actually lose a lawsuit. You don't have to lose a case if you're being criminally tried to actually be devastated. The amount of money that you have to put into defending yourself, the amount of time you have to take away from your life, that is really the victory that I think the left is going for when they come up with one nonsense legal lawsuit against another when it comes to conservative or middle of the road figures.
Well, Lanny Davis certainly set his client up, and he's backtracked. I just can't believe that this guy put this narrative out here that, oh, there's collusion. My client admitted to me that Donald Trump knew that the Russians were. I mean, and then he backtracks on this. This is see, because all people remember, they don't remember the recant. They remember is the fact that Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's attorney, his personal attorney, his fixer, said that the president knew, or the candidate at that time, candidate Trump knew that. But this is the thing that really messes me up. Okay, Donald Trump was a candidate running for president. He had no control over any agency. He had no input over who was doing what to whom. That all belonged to Barack Obama, i.e., Hillary given. So if they knew that the Russians were hacking the election for Donald Trump, you would have thought that Brennan and Clapper would have turned up the heat on their agencies to clamp down on the Russian hacking. Am I right? Am I missing something here, Frank? They keep blaming Donald Trump for Russian collusion, and I'm going, he was a candidate running for office. What the hell did he have to do with any of these agencies and stopping it? Go ahead. Yeah, but a lot of the key people who were engaged in this strange behavior continued to work to the FBI even after they were exposed. Yeah, but Frank, my point is this. Donald Trump couldn't have stopped the collusion. He couldn't have stopped the hacking. He was a candidate running for office whom everyone thought he was going to lose. So my point being, if I'm Clapper, if I'm Brennan, and I'm the head of the CIA, and I'm head of NSA or National Intelligence Service, why wouldn't I turn up the heat? And the head of the FBI, Comey, why wouldn't you turn up the heat on your agencies to block the hacking? They try to act like Donald Trump actually had control or some mechanism to do something with Russians and with the election. That's what this thing is all about. They're building this thing up to. That's my point. That's absolutely right. And there's one further step too, which is what's the definition of collusion? In this case, all we're hearing is that Don Jr., the president's son, met with some Russians who claimed that they had some dirt on Hillary Clinton. There's no word of a deal. There's no word of any kind of tit for tat. This is simply what's being charged. There's no there there. There's no criminal wrongdoing involved in it. Anyone who's running for office, someone comes up to you and says, hey, I know something your opponent did that was pretty sleazy. That's not anything that involves illegal activity. We're talking about the nation being paralyzed or almost paralyzed for a year and a half on something that doesn't exist and makes no legal sense whatsoever. Of course, the great fear is that if the midterm elections coming up in just about 3 months, if the Democrats take the legislative branch, they can use that to continue this possibly even against the president on no grounds whatsoever. You simply can't impeach people because you don't like them or because you voted for the other person. Well, wait a minute. Don't tell Maxine's Waters that.
When I was in Washington, D.C., I was covering the inauguration of Donald Trump. And before the inauguration actually took place, there were signs that said, impeach Donald Trump. And I interviewed some of the folks carrying signs, and I said, how can you talk about impeaching someone who hasn't been sworn in yet? And they said, he shouldn't deserve to be president. Hillary should be president. He should be impeached. That's what this is all about. It's people who like to lose and simply say the president should be impeached.
But look. This is the deal. President Trump has done many things that he said he was going to do. He said, I'm going to stop jobs from leaving the United States. I'm going to make those people come back, or those jobs come back to America. I remember on the campaign stump in 2008, John McCain going to some city saying, those jobs are gone. Those jobs are gone forever. We need to do this. And I'm looking at him going, he needs his little behind smacked. You know, I've never really cared for John McCain. And if you listen, yeah, but hold it, Frank. Barack didn't say it until after McCain said it. I remember very distinctly McCain saying it first, and it just appalled me that these people had given up on American jobs and stopping jobs from leaving America. Like, we can't do it. Barack came along after McCain had said this. He went to the same city, the same plant, and reiterated what John McCain had stated a few days earlier. And it just really made me angry that they were capitulating jobs to Korea and China. It really just pissed me off because I take it very personal. I have a very personal experience with jobs being lost in my family. And Koreans coming in who spoke no English. They had them come in and they said, we'll pay you 2 weeks, 3 weeks to train the Koreans. And people were like, oh, hell no. So you remember when Barack Obama said during the 2014 election, he said the same thing. You know, these jobs are leaving America. There's nothing we can do to keep them here. He said it right before, during the election, when he was out campaigning for Hillary Clinton. And every time Trump came back with, I'm going to put policies in place to make the trade agreements fair, to make companies come back to America. Right now, Frank, just last Thursday or Friday, U.S. Steel, I can look at them right down the street here in Gary, Indiana. They announced that they are investing $750 million in the steel plants in Gary and Hammond, Indiana. What that means is a city like Gary that used to be about 800,000 people and now is about 100,000 people will start to get, homes will start to be built and business will start to be done. And this city will come back alive again because they're jobs and they're good paying jobs in steel plants. And America is going to be great again. Do I sound like a campaign speech or something?
It sounds like a dose of reality, something we haven't seen in economics for a long, long time. And I think part of the fury being leveled against this particular administration is that it's taking the rug out from under the Democrat battle plan of getting all those blue-collar votes. There clearly is no reason why a blue-collar voter would want to advocate, would want to support a Democrat, typical Democrat candidate any longer. The Democrat Party, by the way, has also left the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
They have nothing in relation to the platform that they ran on, which is a blue-collar platform. They've abandoned. They're the party of a hard-left, absolute elite group that has no affinity whatsoever with the American worker.
Well, you know, Frank, it's a good thing that you just brought that up. I was cutting through the building to get to my show, to the studio, and I saw two people eating Safeway, right? I'm sorry, Subway. So I said to them, God, those sandwiches look good. I was going to stop by Subway, but I remember I had Kibasca Polish sausage upstairs, and I'm gonna pull one out of the refrigerator and have one for lunch, right? And we all start laughing. We were talking, and somehow I get to talking about making America great again and bringing back. I didn't know these people were union people. I had several people stop and listen to what I was saying. They said, "Oh, this is good. This is great." And I was talking about Trump and making America better again. And these people were electrical workers who climbed the poles and lay the electrical, in the street and stuff like that. That's the union they represent. And you have union workers, man. You're talking about unions. You brought this up and it just kind of triggered this, even though it just happened, half an hour ago. These union people are with Trump, man. The workers are with Trump. I mean, we are with Trump. I'm from a union family. I believe in unions. I think the unions have sold American workers out since the mid-70s, since the death of Walter Reuther. I think that unions have sold the American workers out, roughly 73, 74. So, my friend, all I'm saying is, all of the polls that are out there, all of the traditional politics has been going on. Donald Trump has taken all of this and turned it on its head because he is for the people. He's not for the rich people. He's not for the poor people. He's for doing what's good for everybody. And that is messing this country up. Uh-huh. This union guy, who was telling me, one of the union bosses, that these cities and these governments still want to go with the lowest bid. Okay, so you have these so-called minorities, these Indians and these Latinos who hire people from Mexico, and they come in with these low-cost workers and they underbid everybody because they're not paying what we call prevailing wages. And see, I always talk about the Davis-Bacon Act because the Davis-Bacon Act kept Black Americans from participating in the American dream. The skyscrapers in New York, Black men were coming up from the South and undercutting the white labor force. So these Southern Democrats, to stop the Negroes from leaving, and I said that on purpose, Negroes, from leaving the South and going north for better jobs and opportunity, they implemented something called the Davis-Bacon Act. I say this time and time again, Frank. Black Americans are the only ones that have had laws written purposely to prohibit their pursuing the American dream. The Davis-Bacon Act is all about discrimination and because blacks couldn't get in the unions and weren't accepted in the unions. They couldn't get jobs because of prevailing wage act. So anyway, this goes on. Well, it does. And you don't need a tariff because the Ford Motor Companies will say, well, it's cheaper to build this car in America than it is to build it in Mexico. And by the way, I'm probably going to get more. Somebody will probably buy my car because it's not built in Mexico. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not buying one damn car that's built in Mexico. Yesterday, there were two questions I wanted to ask you. One was about the wage thing. There was another one I wanted to ask you before you had to go. I can't remember. Anyway, Frank, when we look at where this Mueller investigation is going, I think that someone needs to step up and say, you can't keep reaching into people's business affairs and trying to and convicting them, indicting them for Russian collusion, or this that your investigation is supposed to be about Russian collusion, but you're indicting them over not reporting income, tax evasion. These are things that any business person would get caught up in if they were to be examined like these men are being examined. Do you understand what I'm saying, Frank?
Exactly. It's completely outside the scope of the area that Mueller is supposed to be investigating, which demonstrates more and more. And I think every minute that goes by, when Mueller Steve comes up with one of these nonsensical charges, or one of these charges that are absolutely outside the scope of Russian collusion, that tells you that Mueller has got nothing when it comes to collusion, when it comes to any really serious charge against the president. Clearly, this is all about politics. It's not about the law or the breaking of any law. It's all about giving bad publicity on the headlines, and the media is just all too eager to be part of the co-conspirators of this move to overturn the results of what the people chose in 2016.
But more importantly, I think, and along those lines, is Mueller doesn't have anything. But if you listen to the Rachel Maddows, if you reach the Larry Lawrences of the world, if you listen to Urban View, if you listen to Al Sharpton, Trump is the worst thing since sliced. Al Sharpton should come clean about his relationship with Donald Trump and how Donald Trump has, in the past, supported his businesses and his business opportunities.
But now Al Sharpton and others like him in the opposition realize that they are going to be part of this establishment, which is going to say to the voters, we don't care what you choose. We are going to make life so miserable if our candidate doesn't win. You'd better dare not go against us. And that's the really frightening thing for American democracy. What we're looking at is a form of non-physical violence. When you're talking about tearing apart the lives of anyone who's in opposition to the left-wing establishment in this country, whether they're in academia, journalism, or actually in politics itself, this type of thing that we're seeing, the endless lawsuits, the endless investigations, none of which really turn out much, but really are just destroy people's lives, it's a form of non-physical violence. And violence is the type of thing that we've always seen in countries that descend from democracy into totalitarianism.
Well, totalitarianism is what liberals want. I mean, you listen to this woman, you're in your backyard, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and everything that she says, she sounds like a young Nazi to me. She sounds like a young National Socialist sycophant. And, people don't understand that Nazism was about socialism. They were called the National Socialist Party. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to have a little bit of fun, ever ask a socialist to give the full name of the Nazi Party, which of course was the National Socialist Party.
Yeah. Don't you love it? History, I always say history is far more interesting than fiction. Hey, my friend.
It is indeed.
Go ahead.
It is indeed, and that's why you're seeing such a turn against the teaching of history in American schools. American schools have become basically the fiefdom of the hard left. They admit that to some extent, and that's why you're seeing such a lack of emphasis on real historical teaching.
Well, that's why we're going to have if Betsy DeVos gets her way, we'll have a national curriculum. And in this national curriculum, one of the things that I want to do in the national curriculum is to change the narrative, is to change the history books. And I'm sending a letter to Betsy DeVos in doing that. So I got my work cut out for me, my friend. I got a whole bunch of things going on at the same time, and it's driving me crazy, but that's okay. Hey, Frank.
And actually, so do I, because I have to run. I have actually 2:50, and I look forward to speaking with you next week.
Well, thank you, Frank, and thanks for spending time with us. It's been a great conversation as always, sir.
Look forward to our next discussion.
Okay, take care. Mr. Frank Venucio, folks. Charles Butler. What am I going to talk about today? Am I going to talk about the increase in STDs? Ooh, boy, that's a bad situation. Well, am I going to talk about the U.S.-Mexico trade agreement? No. Don't know enough about that right now. In the New York Times, Thomas Feldman, who hates Trump, he hates Trump's guts. He wrote an article that said, what if Trump actually, what if, I'm going to read this accurately. What if Trump did actually shoot someone on Fifth Avenue? We'll have a little fun with this. Thomas Friedman, who hates Trump, I mean, he hates his guts. Anything you read about from Friedman on Trump is just, wow, over the top. He says, President Trump stopped his motorcade in Manhattan today, jumped out of his limousine and shot a man on Fifth Avenue who was shouting anti-Trump epithets. The shooting was recorded by the White House press pool, as well as by dozens of bystanders with cell phones and by security cameras in the area. When asked for his reaction, House Speaker Paul Ryan said, and he opens this in a quote, "We'll need more information than is available at this point," close quote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell threw pursed lips that he, open quote, was not going to comment on every up and down with this president, close quote. Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes said he'd already had information indicating that the man whom Trump shot, open quote, worked for the Clinton Foundation and may be a relative of former Hillary Clinton aide Uma Hadid, close quote. Oh, man, that's too funny. Oh, man. He goes on to say, this is Thomas Friedman, Fox did not cover the shooting at the top of his broadcast, which focused instead on the killing of an Iowa woman by an undocumented immigrant. Fox only referenced to the fact that the president shot a man. See, this is where the left goes wrong. They try to conflate these two things and compare them. This actually happened. A young girl was killed in illegal, not undocumented, illegal immigrant. An illegal alien. Let me call it, say who he was correctly. See, I'm getting a little upset here. Thomas Friedman needs to be slapped. So if you see him out there, somebody just slap him like the little bitch he is. He wrote this. This is disgusting. See, I hadn't really read this far down in the article earlier today because I thought it was all humor. This is not humorous. There's not a damn thing funny about this paragraph. He actually says Fox did not cover Trump's shooting at the top of its broadcast, which instead focused on the killing of an Iowa woman by an undocumented immigrant. Fox has only referenced to the fact that the president, there is no fact that the president shot anybody on Fifth Avenue. He didn't shoot anyone. Was that a New York man died today when he ran into a bullet fired by the president? That's supposed to be from Trump. This is bad. This is bad. In fact, this is so bad that I'm not going to read anymore. I'm going to write the New York Times and say this man is totally out of line, over the edge, and he needs to be reined in. In fact, he needs to be suspended. Anyway, man, whew, Lord, truth is far more interesting than fiction. Believe me. The Economist magazine today and other outlets are talking about the rise in STD infections and whatnot. Sorry about making that noise, but I was just thinking, why isn't this more of a story? Why isn't this more more of a story than me talking about it, because the increase in STDs is coming from where? The homosexual and bisexual communities. I didn't say this, and you know where I am on homosexuality and bisexuality. You know, I could care less. You know, it's not my thing. But the Economist did a whole big article on why STDs are on the rise in the U.S. And man, they talk about the rates of chlamydia have risen by 98%. 98%. They've had a surge in STDs in America, and they talk about even as headline writers has spent recent years bemoaning the supposed demise of sex among youth, the incidence of STDs or sexually transmitted disease has surged in America. So between 2000 and 2016, the last year for which data are available, estimated chlamydia rates rose 98%. Rates of syphilis, which public health researchers once thought was on the cusp of eradication, have shot up fourfold. Rates for gonorrhea dropped from 24% between 2000 and 2009, but have risen to 48% since then, more than countering the previous fall. The underlying science of STD transmission is unchanging and uncomplicated. It requires unprotected sex with an infected person. People today, it appears, are simply less worried about the risk. Among heterosexual couples, this can be particularly explained contraceptives like IUDs, et cetera, et cetera. Wow. This is deep, man. This is deep. But Fox News, The Economist did an article on it. Fox News did an article on it. And it's, the increase is primarily in the homosexual and bisexual community. Wow. Hey, all I can say is, folks, have protected sex. That's what I would say. It's dangerous out there. Now, this ESPN host wanted to go off on Tiger Woods because Tiger Woods wouldn't dog the president. And Woods is like, I respect the office. You know, he's the son of a military man. You know, he was raised while he wasn't in the military. He spends a lot of time with military types and with military people. He does. He's very comfortable with them. His dad was one. So, in fact, his dad was a Green Beret. His dad was a Green Beret, and you know, Tiger respects. Tiger respects the office. He respects the president. He respects tradition. He's a conservative. What's wrong with that? Well, you know what progressives would say. What's wrong with that? You're supposed to be disrespectful. You're supposed to be contrarian. You're supposed to say that America stinks. We hate America. Jim Brown was on television today and did a great job. I'm going to play this clip for you. And let's see what Tiger had to say. Let's see if we can pull it up. I'm going to see if I can get it a little louder.
I've known him for 20 years. Played golf.
It's going to be big news, all right, because this ESPN guy called Tiger stupid. I mean, who are these people to make condescending remarks? By the way, Tiger Woods went to Stanford. He's no dummy. Listen to this jerk. Listen, I want you to listen to this because you have to listen to this. You won't believe it. What's oh god, that was old Smith from ESPN. Having some pain issues with my knee, man. I tell you, gotta take my pain pills. I'm getting old. I don't know if it's arthritis or what, but it hurts like Hades. I'm glad this is the last minute. But yeah, they tried to disrespect Tiger because he said, hey, wait a minute. I respect the president. And what's wrong with that? So for those of you who didn't hear it, let's play it again. Yeah, I thought it was a great answer too. So Tiger Woods is stupid because he respects the office of the presidency. These liberals have lost it. But let me say this. They've lost the election. They've lost the midterms. Yes, I've said it once. I've said it twice. I'll say it again. Democrats have lost the midterms. They don't have anything to run on. People don't want socialism. They're not proud of the advances we've made. We've opened our minds to accept gay. No, people haven't. People are still religious. And until the scripture changes, which I doubt that it will, but you have all of these people who are trying to change scripture these days. Sorry for this, folks, but my knee is killing me. But look, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, doing what we do here at The Reality Check with Charles Butler. Okay. Well, I'm still broadcasting live on the YouTube link. So we're still broadcasting live on the YouTube link. So we'll continue to do what we do out here on YouTube. It's always good. See if we caught Frank Venucio on that end. See if we heard the show. Just try to do something a little different. See what's going on. Hey, but look, thanks again. Take care. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.